Hello and welcome, Star Wars fans, to the pre-show of Duel of the Ranks. I'm your host, Brody, joined by my co-hosts, Amanda and Christian. Today, got a special guest by the name of Jake. We're going to talk about Star Wars video games today. Really, what are the top 10? But before we do,
we have other things to talk about.
We have other things to talk
The
about.
pre-show is for us to talk about the other things.
Yeah, the other things in life.
Which happen to be the Rings of Power.
Yeah. That happened. Finally, after years of waiting, Rings of Power came out last Thursday.
Yeah.
It was a lot to take in.
And we've all seen
There's
both
a
of the
lot to
episodes.
unpack. Yes. First two
Okay.
episodes.
Yes. And I don't know. I've seen a lot of hate. I mean, we looked at the reviews at the end of last week's episode, like when it had been premiered for like 2 minutes, and there was already like 300 1-star reviews.
I know. It had only been out for 18 minutes.
Yeah.
I looked, and it was so funny because their critiques were like thorough. 1 star, like, I cannot believe how void of just true Tolkien inspiration these writers were, and all these like
damn.
Wow. 18 minutes in, all right, like that's, you didn't even watch it. I'm starting to think you never saw a thing.
Yeah.
Well, there was a group pre-screening before us, right?
Yeah. That's true.
However big that pool is. I don't know how big these pools are.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's a big pool. You could swim all over.
But a lot of big fans have not liked it. But I mean, I have never read any of The Lord of the Rings, any of Tolkien's work. So I've enjoyed it. I can't complain.
That's awesome.
I think that it feels very authentic to the Peter Jackson like theatrics. Like the big whooshing camera movements and the intensity and like melodrama of everything feels very authentic to Peter Jackson's portrayal.
Yeah.
That's just kind of my general first thoughts.
Jake, what did you think about Rings of Power?
I have been having an absolute blast with it so far, and I can't wait for the next episode to come out. Lord of the Rings is very near and dear to my heart. Right up there with Star Wars, and I was skeptical of this show coming in.
I remember that.
But the closer we got to the premiere and the more marketing wizardry they pulled over at Amazon with drip feeding trailers, I was like, okay, I'm starting to see some things that I like.
Yep.
Starting to feel cautiously optimistic, but these first 2 episodes were pure spectacle. I feel like they were tonally very in line with Jackson's films, and there were several times throughout where I was watching it and just audibly was like, wow, just like breathtaking scenes. And with a show with this kind of production budget, it better have those moments. But critics be damned, I'm really enjoying it so far.
It's true. And a lot of the critics really enjoyed it too. If you look at like a lot of the platforms like Rotten Tomatoes, there's a lot of the different media outlets are really appreciating it. I know when I watched it, my wife and I were sitting together and she's like, I don't think I've ever heard you talk this much during anything.
Wow.
I'm over here like, oh my gosh, the true trees. Oh my gosh, that's you see that silhouette? That's Morgoth. No, oh my gosh, like all these things. And I couldn't stop. That opening sequence, a lot of people were like, there was a lot to unpack. It was kind of boring. And I'm like, oh, I thought it was so fast. I don't think they dove in enough. Like, you could have done this, you could have done this. And yeah, I don't know. There was a lot, but I really enjoyed that opening sequence. But what about you, Christian? Did you enjoy Rings of Power?
I did.
First 2 episodes?
Yeah, my wife and I, we watched it, enjoyed it. It's pleasant, fun. I was endeared by the Harfoots. They're charming. And I like the new character. I'm blanking. Unduri.
Nori?
No, I mean, she's great too.
The elf?
The new elf.
Yeah.
But I was surprised, like watching it. I was like, oh, wow. This is a different universe, though. It was different than, like, they definitely took some departures from Tolkien's universe. But
how do you say that?
Like, at the time, I mean, getting into the nitty gritty of the details, like at this point in time, Galadriel is more like bent on finding Sauron as opposed to what like has been established like they really humanized these elves, like
Mhm.
humanized Galadriel to have like this burn towards Sauron and all that, and like which is great, but I feel like looking at her, it was like they were trying to not see her as an equal, whereas like Tolkien has heralded her as like a lord princess elf,
Yeah.
and like Gil-galad is her nephew. But in there, you never would have guessed.
Yeah,
Like
that's
watching
true.
it, you're like, what?
Yeah, she's
Or
like,
like,
this teen who,
They-
yeah.
They sort of like
Yeah.
just are like, oh, you should just go on this little boat
yeah.
and float away.
Yeah, but it wasn't like watching it. I really wasn't thinking about all that. I was just like, oh wow, like this is something that is completely new, using the Tolkien, mythos, and they're just taking it in a different direction, which I enjoyed the first 2 episodes, but it was definitely a surprise to me. It was a surprise.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't made aware until just recently that this is only based on a very small amount of like content that Tolkien has created. Like they don't have the rights to all of these stories, so that's really interesting for me to find out from you two about what is like by the book and what is like taken with liberty, because
Yeah,
I have no
There's
idea.
a lot here taken with
Yeah, it's hard to like even condense something into a show. So it's like
Yeah.
I was very like from the get-go, I was just very excited we were going to get this show.
Yeah.
I was anticipating this whole thing, and I really haven't paid attention to whatever like negative reviews or like I know there's always going to be hate on things, but
this is like unprecedented though. The amount of hate that's got out the
It
gate.
feels like it's every year the next big show is going to have the most unprecedented hate, and then the most unprecedented. It's just like it's so exhausting. Like why?
Outside of The Force Awakens, I don't know of anything I've ever seen in my lifetime that's come in with this much hype though.
I think it's apparent that people came into this show ready to hate it off the bat.
Yes.
Yeah.
They had
Totally agree.
preconceived notions, and Christian, my advice to you would be don't bother going down that rabbit hole, because
Yeah.
you go on Reddit, it's an absolute mess right
yeah,
now.
and you'll find the hate if you're looking for it. and
You don't have
it's-
to look hard. Just type in
Yeah.
Rings of Power.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
That'll be
first thing-
most of the first things that
Yeah.
show up.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it is fun to talk about. Like, I'm so glad we're getting I'm truly looking forward to episode 3,
Me too.
and I'm excited. But it does introduce this fun dialogue and debate of like, comparing it obviously to Lord of the Rings or comparing it to The Hobbit, but then also like it's a show that I have to assess it with like Tolkien's literature, like the Silmarillion,
Mm-hmm.
Unfinished Tales or whatnot. Like it's not just a show that I can just watch and critique the screen. Now I have to critique it like or look at it with how true to the screen, like how true to the literature are they doing? Are they perverting things? Are they not? And like that's where it's like it adds that dimension to Rings of Power. And so when you take a beloved franchise,
Yeah.
that's where it's gonna, much like Luke in Last Jedi.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, I'm very excited to see what else they do with the show. I had a lot I did not like about this first episode. Unfortunately, we're about out of time. So I'm going to
Wow, planned that really well.
maybe save that for another episode. All I'll say is this. There are a lot of things that did not make a whole lot of sense to me out of that first episode. I enjoyed it. Both of them get a 7 out of 10 for me. First off, I don't know where Finrod is getting that fresh fade from. I don't know what barber he's finding.
The local elven barber.
Yeah, I was like, where'd they find those clippers back then? That's
Nice cut, G.
I cannot stand when anytime we impart like Western culture into Middle Earth. And it happens. It's going to happen a lot, and it's going to happen a whole lot more now that Christopher's passed on. You see,
Like
a lot
you
more-
watch them like driving a car or something. Like
Yeah.
which there
One
is
of
a
them
car
flips out a
in, I think,
phone.
Fellowship of the Ring. By the way, it's
Really?
Yeah, there is a red car that drives by.
on accident.
Yeah, on accident.
okay.
And it's it was in the film VHS anyway. But yeah, so I wasn't a fan of that. Really wasn't a fan of Gil-galad's and Celebrimbor, especially their age over that of Galadriel. I guess someone could say,
Takes
well,
another
she's from the first age and maybe she preserves her youth better. I don't know. she's one of those first.
Men just look worse
So
than
wait.
women.
Who's supposed to be older?
Well, Galadriel's by far older than
Oh, okay.
everybody
Like
here.
she's like
Yeah.
top dog.
Oh yeah. Yep. So one of the first Eldar elves, so to speak. I mean, there was Finwë, who's like the, Eldar, so to speak, and then he had his son, or sons. He had Feanor, Fingolfin, and Finarfin.
I hate all those names.
I think is less. I might be blanking on her dad's name. It's gonna come in-
Finarfin?
Fionn.
Finarfin's one of them. I can't remember her dad's name.
Fionn.
But yeah, she has her brothers,
Finwë.
and there's a whole lot there, and it's a really good story. Check out the Silmarillion. So yeah, she's
Love the
really, really
soundtrack,
old.
though.
I'm blanking on her
Okay.
dad's name, but she's crazy old. And so yeah, the haircuts are weird to me. The age ranges are weird to me. It's super weird how Gil-galad's like, oh, I am going to bestow you as the sum of the few who get to go to the west. I'm like, I didn't know the High King of the Elves just got to make those executive decisions. Isn't it like Manwë who makes those calls? All right, that's weird. That's cool.
You're getting into things that not maybe everyone knows about, Broderick.
Yeah, but for me, I was like, who are you?
Yeah,
Who are you, Gil-galad, to tell Galadriel?
Step off.
It's not even your job to be telling people who can go to the West. And secondly, do not talk to Galadriel that way, sir. So loved her as a character. I did think the sword jump thing was kind of weird, but I loved her as a character. Folks who say, oh, she shouldn't be so, I don't know, out for blood or so to speak, and this, badass female. Well, Tolkien did right. There was a part of her life where she was kind of wild and untamed and of a rebellious nature. And so if you want to apply that and point it towards Sauron, cool. I was a bit nervous how they were going to handle Finrod's death. Anyone who knows about that understands, hey, if that doesn't happen, you might not have Aragorn and Arwen. So since they don't have the rights to the Beren and Luthien story, really thought that was handled with tact.
They referenced it.
They did. You see the wolf markings up on his body. It was weird how she mentioned he was hunting Sauron, but whatever. It works for trying to tell a story to a general audience anyway. So thought that was good. Yeah, and I know there was a lot of folks who, and myself included, about, again, Western culture being imparted into the Rings of Power. And I will say, for me, I didn't mind, like, there's a lot of folks who were really nervous when you saw things like black actors being cast into Middle-earth. I didn't have a whole lot of red flags for that myself, because there are instances where you do have darker skin colored people within Middle-earth, whatever. And I thought all of the actors did fantastic. And I'm sorry, but I don't remember Durin's wife's name. What's the princess? She was amazing. Bought into the dwarf story out the gate. So yeah, I thought those things were really good. I am concerned that because Amazon does have a diversity quota, that they are going to continue to not just haircuts and other things, but continue to impart, I don't want to just say woke culture, because that's used so frequently these days to mean a multitude of things, but so many American or just Western ideals pouring that into Middle-earth, when really we should be living in the box that Tolkien set up. So still am skeptical of what they're going to end up doing with different characters, but I'm enjoying the ride thus far. Get rid of the haircuts, though.
The haircuts.
Finrod's
Jake
got
and
that
Amanda.
Peaky Blinders cut.
Yes.
I know.
He just needs a cigarette. Jake and Amanda, what was like a top highlight of the show? One top highlight for me was I love the soundtrack. Like I could listen to it all the time. But like, what was one thing that, I don't know, you talked about with each other after you watched it?
I personally really loved seeing the inside of Khazad-dûm. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Like, that was just so magical and amazing, and I wanted to be there.
The way they hit the
was
lights,
The
too. They
lights,
brought
the
lights in.
waterfalls, it was just so cool. And I did like all of the learning about how they like listen to the stones, and
Yeah.
like I liked learning more about their relationship with the earth.
You have some cool foreshadowing with that too. Like, oh, we have to listen. And I'm like, well, sooner or later they stop
spoilers.
listening.
Yeah.
Sooner or later. If you saw the trailer, there's a Balrog.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Jake, what about you, man?
For me, there were a lot of cool moments. But I'm a sucker for large monsters and kaiju. So the scene with Galadriel at sea and the sea worm, was very epic. Checked a lot of boxes for me. The top-down shot of it, swimming underneath the wreckage of the ship. I was just like, let's go. We're gonna get some cool monster action here.
What's his name again? The other guy,
Halbrand or
Halbrand?
something like that. Yeah,
I think he's right. Halbrand. There's a lot of folks that think he's Sauron, which I don't personally buy yet.
Yeah, he's Sauron, or the kid's Sauron, or the Meteor Man Sauron, or
Meteor Man is a blue Istari.
Who knows, man?
Yeah, he's one of those wizards.
But okay, I thought he was gonna be Sauron because when he when he
the eye.
Yeah, the eye was definitely there. Which was cool.
Yeah. I think that's I don't know. I feel like it's a misdirect.
But, yeah.
I've heard Saruman too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally going for like a wizard vibe.
Yep.
Dark sorcery.
It's weird that he can't speak though.
He can speak, but he just can't communicate on this planet right now.
Yeah.
He hasn't figured out the
I'm
language.
very excited to learn more about him. That way.
But I think that should be our segue into queuing up for the real show.
The real show, y'all. All right. Well, this has been the pre-show of Duel of the Ranks. And with that said, let's kick off the real deal. Let's get it. Hello and welcome, Star Wars fans, to this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, a show where we debate takes so hot that they'd melt a planet with twin suns. My name is Brody, and I'll be hosting this episode with my co-hosts Amanda and Christian as we attempt to find what story is truly the best from a galaxy far, far away. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing ranks and the hot takes from our top 10 Star Wars video game moments. And this week, we're not alone, y'all. We brought in the one and only, I think he actually made the very first Star Wars game ever invented. That's not true. but he is in a band, and that band is amazing. They're called the Real Zebos, and they helped make our song, our intro song. The one you just heard.
They did.
They did. They were the ones that did it. So big shout out to the Real Zebos. And right now, a bigger shout out to Jake, who's a huge Star Wars video game fan. Jake, how are you doing, sir?
Doing great. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
For all those who don't watch the YouTube channel, you are missing out on Jake's swag right now.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen a guest that's just more fresh looking coming onto this show.
Yeah.
Long-time listener, so I know I had to come prepared.
It's a great deal.
One might say he's our biggest fan.
Yeah.
Yep, he's up there. I don't know who number one is. We actually have a few followers who've just been so devout in Germany that no matter how bad of an episode we have, we can't shake them, and we love them for it.
I hope they hear this right now. We've called them out a couple times before.
Yeah. If you are listening and you live in Germany, send us like a hot take. We've got
how
Google
do you say
Translate.
hello in German?
Guten Tag?
Say Guten Tag.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I said something super offensive there. I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure I'm right. That's like, watch it be like Swedish.
I know, right?
Something.
Oh.
Look how uncultured we are.
And now we've lost them.
And now they're unsubscribed.
So
That's all it's like. Okay. Anyway.
But Jake, you're not even just a Star Wars video game fan. You're a Star Wars fan, true and true.
Yeah.
This is true.
What was your can you give us a little tidbit of your intro to Star Wars? When did you first get it? Did you love it at first or what? Yeah, tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, for sure. So my first introduction to Star Wars as a whole was the original trilogy, and watching my parents' VHS tapes of A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. And I had to be 3-4 years old, not old enough to grasp, the higher brow concepts and storytelling of Star Wars. But it started with, look at these space swords and these space wizards and all of these ships and planets and alien species. And I was hooked from the first time watching it.
Don't you have
awesome.
like a rogue leader tattoo as well? Am I mistaken? Am I just off?
No, you're not far off. On this shoulder here, I have a tattoo of an X-wing flying in front of the Death Star. So I have immortalized my devotion to the cause.
Red 5.
Christian,
standing by.
you and I
That's
have
awesome.
been greatly outmassed in the Star Wars fandom right now, as neither of us have anything on our
Yeah.
body marking our
Yeah,
fandom.
I can't brag about that.
No, I can't brag about it at all.
Gotta get
Better-
inked.
Better late than never, guys.
Do a whole Darth
right.
Vader full body tattoo,
Yeah.
shave my head and everything.
Oh, I thought you were just gonna have like black torso and
like the control
yeah, just
pack.
the control pack on your chest.
That's it.
Oh my god.
Just the torso part of Vader. Anyway, well, with that said, shall we get into talking about some Star Wars video games?
Let's get into the
and for the
games.
listeners, I tapped Jake in to bring his gamer intelligence to this episode because I have only played 2 Star Wars video games. Actually 3. That's not true. 3, but I
What
haven't
3 are
completed
they?
one. I've played Jedi Fallen Order,
Great one.
Battlefront 2. I always want to say Battlefield. And we're playing Lego Star Wars, the complete saga now,
Okay.
which has been cool.
All right.
But I don't
Nice.
have enough to qualify a ranking. So
Hey,
I'm going to just ask good questions and keep the convo going.
Well, I think a good way to start this thing is for each of us to just break down our top 3. We do have a top 10 list, but I feel like that's a
Okay,
solid place to start.
Yeah, no, wait. Before we start with that, I think the best question is, what was the first Star Wars video game you played? You remember growing up with?
The first Star Wars game ever. Oof.
I know for me, just by order of deduction, the N64 is what I had. We had Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, the pod racing game, and Battle for Naboo.
Okay.
Those 2 were like the first ones that I played and the first ones that I owned. They were my brothers, so I just played them when they weren't watching.
Nice.
Got in trouble when they caught me.
Jake, what was yours?
I think my very first one was on the original Game Boy, like pre-Game Boy Color. And it was Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, I want to say. I remember you play as Luke, and you start the game with just a blaster, and you have to progress quite a ways before you even get your lightsaber. But once you do it, you'd like press the B button, the attack would just be like a really janky, like 360 swing. I think that was the
Nice.
first one.
Nice.
Was it like one of those like pixelated blobs like that just moved on screen?
Yeah, like total 2D platformer,
Yeah.
like early 90s.
That's cool. They started you off with a gun and
Yeah.
not the lightsaber.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
to earn that.
Yeah.
Got to get there.
What about you, Brody?
I think for me, I don't want to count this as the first full game because I only like had like a little demo of it, like a demo disc. But there was a game called Star Wars Demolition that like it had Boba Fett. It had
Do you know that, Jay?
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Star Wars meets Twisted Metal.
yes,
Ooh.
Yeah.
it was wild. It was a wild ride. But I really didn't get to play the whole game. I did play. There was a game called Star Wars Rogue Squadron Rebel Strike. And it kind of mixes the traditional Rogue Squadron game with like lightsaber action and stuff. And it was an infuriating game. There was a level I couldn't beat where Luke tries to get his X-Wing out of the Dagobah swamp. And I couldn't hit B fast enough. So I invited a bunch of friends over, got a bunch of Mountain Dew. And then I remember all of us gave up. And then at one point, my buddy Mike ends up like waking us all up like violently at like 5 a.m.
He got it when no one else was watching.
He got it when no one else was watching, and he's just like, guys, look. And we are like 11, and we all look at the screen, and here's like Luke's ship coming out of the water, and it had the cutscene, and we're just like, what? And we're just like screaming and running like banshees.
That's so funny.
Watch, he like bought a magazine that had some cheat codes and he was like doing it
That's
while
actually
y'all
what
was
he would have
asleep.
done too. He had all of those.
I miss those like gameplay books.
He
Yeah.
had all of them. So he
Yeah.
might have very well done that. Because I asked him, I was like, how'd you do that? He's like, it just took a lot of, button.
A lot of character, man. A
Lot-
lot of blood,
He's stuck
grit,
with it.
and sweat.
He stuck with it though. And I commend him for that. Just would not go to sleep. until my video game was beaten. It wasn't about the save gameplay on his own console. It was about knowing in his heart that
That's great.
he did it. So
I think we should start at the bottom of the list.
like, do everyone's like, oh,
It's a
you
good
just want to
idea.
go into like the top 10?
Maybe.
Okay,
Well-
we can do that too. All right. So instead of talking about our own personal favorite top 3, which we can get into next,
I think that'll give away some
Yeah.
of the top.
I agree
three.
with Amanda.
all right, let's do it then.
Yeah,
We
and then
clearly-
whoever, like, if you ranked one of the top 10 that we're talking about, you can talk about what you remember from it and why you ranked it. Where you
All
did.
right. Now, Jake does not know what order this is in. So all of the crazy reactions you're going to see, the screaming and throwing of things and all that stuff, it is all authentic and real. So without further ado, let's unveil our number 10 game all time,
Yeah.
which is Star Wars Republic Commando.
I don't know what that is, so
Jake, would you mind giving a synopsis of what this amazing game, which for me it hurts it's number 10, but would you mind stating what this game was all about?
Brody, I'm afraid I have some unfortunate news.
oh
This one did not make my top 10 list because I've never played it.
oh
Oh, spoiler alert.
Oh gosh, well that explains why you and Christian did not
Can
rank it
you
very
give
high.
us
Yeah.
a synopsis?
So basically, it was at this point in human history, like 04 through 07, Star Wars video games were just nothing but fire, and Halo had
fire
just,
as in like
amazing.
awesome. Okay,
Awesome.
not just like explosions.
No,
Okay, cool.
awesome. And
Thank
Had
you
to
for
clarify.
clarifying.
what they did, I mean, Halo had just come out, and it was Star Wars' version of saying, okay, how can we do Halo but better? Well, why don't we take a specialized group of troopers, these Republic Commandos, and we're going to have them be like this close. Again, there was no Clone Wars yet, and so there's a lot of dialogue. First time we ever seen brother and all those kinds of stuff that like helped embody what the Clone Wars were, like those clones were going to be.
Mhm.
And you saw like their war paint, this and that. It was more graphic with blood, and again, it was simulated in this way that you were the leader of these clone troops. And yeah, you took down Geonosians, you took down other droids, and you kind of did all of these like special ops missions for the Republic. It was fantastic. Great game. Not a great multiplayer, but a great game.
And what did
overall.
you play it on?
I played it on Xbox growing up. And
Just
I
the
would say,
classic Xbox?
yes, classic
Classic
Xbox.
black Xbox.
Jake and Christian, I would highly recommend you play this video game. It won't take much. It's mostly just a story campaign, but I can guarantee that by watching it, or just by playing through it, you won't regret it at all. And whatever it costs to get it, like $5-6, just do it.
Well, it just got ported over to the Switch recently, and it is on my wish list, so I have aims to play it. I just have not taken the plunge yet.
It's
Nice.
well worth it. Well
Nice.
worth it.
Nice.
Well, no one else has anything to say about that game, as no one else has played it. So I think we should go on to number 9. Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga.
Skywalker.
Now this game
Saga.
I have not played.
this is the one
Ooh.
that I have kind of played.
Amanda can talk on this too.
We're only like, what are we into?
We're currently on Empire Strikes Back. We started with episode 1. so
Yeah,
we've been
we
going
started
in
with episode
numerical
1. We
order.
wanted to go like total chronological.
You guys have been playing it for a while now, too, haven't you?
Yeah, we have a lot of other games that we like to play. We play FIFA a lot too, so it can be easy for Star Wars to fall into the background. But this is my first ever Lego Star Wars game. I played a little bit of the Jurassic Park, and it's just so charming and fun. It's easy to be distracted by all of the open worldness of it all. So we've just been playing the story campaign, and I want to keep playing it.
How did you convince Jake to get the Lego Jurassic Park game?
Oh, Jake, I didn't have to convince him. He convinced me to play it.
Yeah, it was the other way around.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, couch co-op. This would be fun, right?
Right?
Yeah, it is fun to have a couch co-op to be able to play together.
Right on, right on. I remember Star Wars Lego The Complete Saga when it came out for Wii for us, because like we had played, I loved like the original Star Wars Lego game and Lego 2, And then when that one came out, it was like a sweet, polished version of
All of
you know
them.
all of
Yeah.
them, and it was like, whoa, the graphics are amazing. This feels so smooth. The mechanics are great. Like my brothers and I we just nerded out over Skywalker Saga. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I could
the complete
see,
saga, I'm
I
sorry.
could see you both enjoying these games with your children. you
Yeah.
know,
Would be fun.
being able to introduce them to their first Star Wars video game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd have to be introduced to it this game myself, as I've never played. But
Yeah.
I am sold that, and it does look like a whole lot of fun. So that said, number 8, we have Lego Star Wars, the OG, the first one, the video
OG.
game, and it's only here because Christian had it as his number 1.
I was like one of the first that I poured so much time into as a kid, especially on I was lucky enough to convince my parents I could get it on Game Boy and GameCube because I don't think they knew I already had it on one of the other consoles. So I like got it, the other one for my birthday. But like playing that one, it was just so much fun, and I have a lot of fond memories playing that as a kid with my brothers. I couldn't tell you the last time I played it. It's been a while. Like all these other ones, I have not played for such a long time. But that one, that's a nostalgia piece for me.
Nice.
And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, was that the first Lego video game that we've ever gotten?
I think so.
Because that one, I think, was revolutionary, busting that genre. And then look what
the
birthed.
Lego Star Wars video game. Pretty sure you're right.
I think that's a testament just to the whole Lego franchise.
I loved it when it came out, but it doesn't make my top 10. But I did enjoy it. Jake, did you play the original Lego Star Wars video game?
I didn't. The Skywalker Saga is actually my first Lego Star Wars game ever. I missed all the other previous entries.
Okay. And those are
That's
the only other
okay.
ones I've played.
I
Were the-
believe this one they took like grunts, because this was like Legos
Yeah.
don't talk.
Yeah.
But
couldn't
like they
talk
took
back then.
grunts from the movies, like the prequel movies and whatnot. Like Anakin's like, it's just weird. It's
Except Yoda. Like I think maybe they did use Yoda, but like it's just funny because people talk. They're like,
yeah. They would
Like
take
Simlish.
they would take
but-
other sounds like that's not from the Star Wars movie, but they like put them in there and whatnot. It was just great.
And like Lando, all his voices were just like he'd walk in.
He's like,
That's what he sounds like all the time.
just like
That's accurate.
far more drunk. Just like,
hello, what have we here?
Yeah, the decision to bring real lines and dialogue from the movies in Skywalker Saga, big win.
Although it was a lot of fun when you couldn't tell exactly what they were saying.
Yeah.
And they
I
always
can
like
see.
killed Yoda off, and like I think it's the soundbite from when he jumps at Dooku.
Yeah.
But they would always just like cast Lego Yoda into the void,
Yeah.
and he'd always hear.
It was so great, especially like when people would die, like like you just cut off.
That was it. Yeah, those originals were really,
That's
really
funny.
funny. Yeah, they always caught me off guard. which I always
That's all. That's
appreciated.
why we love Lego.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
All right. Well, with that said, that puts us at our number 7 of all time, which, oh, what a great one.
Great
is-
one.
Star Wars Bounty Hunter. Jake, have you played this one?
I've not.
Oh, another one you got to do. It's a little bit janky with the mechanics.
It's a little
but-
out
That was
there.
PS2, right?
Yep.
And GameCube.
Oh, and I had it on GameCube.
My cousin had it on GameCube. That was the only time I played it. Was when I was at my cousin's house or watching them play it, and it was like, frick, so cool to see Jango Fett. You're like, I want to be Jango Fett.
And I love the game starts out and you're fighting in this like Rancor pit looking thing, but it's not a Rancor pit, which is kind of funny because that's ultimately where he meets his untimely death. And you don't have a jetpack, which again is the whole reason why he ends up dying, except there's no Jedi in this pit. And you take on Sabine, you end up going on and you fight like working for Jabba the Hutt for a little while or doing some sort of deal with him or something, going on Tatooine, and you end up, it ends with you fighting what character would end up becoming, or the character that inspired Asajj Ventress. You end up fighting her and killing her in the video game. So that was pretty crazy. And then Count Dooku comes at the end and has a deal and a proposition that he really thinks is worth your time and you should listen to. And that's the game.
Ooh, that
So-
sounds fun.
My Lord Tyrannus on one of the moons of Bogdan.
Yep. It's a lot of fun. You fight these like demon spawn things at the end. Like it's kind of creepy because it's like this dark level
Ooh.
and they're all black. And the only reason you can like see, the only way you can see them coming is if they open their eyes. They're just bright red.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't remember that part.
Yeah, you didn't get that far. Unless
Yeah.
you played unless you did say you played the whole thing. But no, that was it was a good game. Very good game. All right. With that, number 6, a game I've never played and most heralded as the best Star Wars video
Number
game
5.
of all time. Number 5. Okay.
No, wait.
Is it?
No, it's number 6.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw the other number 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It is 6, Christian.
You're right.
You just want it to be higher than it is, and that's okay. I've never played it. You have. But we have, which this is probably the most blasphemous thing we're going to do. At number 6, we have Knights of the Old Republic.
Jake.
Sixth place.
I know, right?
Jake has it as his personal second favorite.
So, Jake,
Yeah.
you should showcase this because I only put it on my list because and I haven't played like the ones that I probably should have played in the Star Wars gaming industry. But Knights of the Old Republic, I was late to I was a bandwagoner. I was late to that game, but I had played it a little bit in college, but like on the Xbox. And it was cool, but I really did not even put a big dent in it, but I did love. I was like, this is just great. Like great idea, whatever. But Jake, you take it away on this one.
Okay, cool. Well, actually, similar situation with me. I've been a PlayStation loyalist most of my life from PS1 onwards. I've always had PlayStation
Alright.
consoles in my houses. And this one came out in 2003. And this was like one of the Xbox exclusive titles where my buddies who were on Xbox, I'm just like, you
Sure.
you don't deserve this. I want to play this game. But I actually played it all the way through, beat it for the first time earlier this year. So it's still very fresh in my mind.
Nice.
The reason I did it was because of the recent announcement of the remake that's happening,
Yeah.
hopefully, in the next couple of years for PlayStation 5. And I was like, what a great time to dust this off and really give it the attention it deserves. But this one was so high on my list because had I played it in like 2003 when I was 10 years old, probably wouldn't have landed for me. Probably a little young to appreciate what it did for Star Wars as a franchise and the RPG video game genre as a whole. Because at the time, I could see how this would be revolutionary. Like it put BioWare on the map as like one of the cutting edge video game developers in the industry. And it was really the first time we got to see the Old Republic era in Star Wars in gaming, which was kind of a bold move at the time.
Mhm.
But I think up to that point, it had only ever really been mentioned or explored in literature. Like there was a comic series in the 90s. But they took a risk and took Star Wars in a new frontier, in a new era, a new roster of characters, and they absolutely pulled it off. By today's standards, some of the mechanics are dated. They show their age, obviously, graphically. It's a little rough around the edges, but the stories and the cast of characters and the plot absolutely hold up all these years later. I was entertained start to finish. There was enough like rich world building and character development. And this is one of those games where you're the star of the show. If you want to be a Sith Lord, if you want to be a Jedi, if you want to be somewhere in between, you have that capability. Like the game, the story, the world kind of unfolds based on the decisions that you make. And Darth Malak is like top 5 all-time Star Wars antagonists in my book now. He is awesome.
Okay, I'm sold now. I need to play it.
It's
I
a
feel
great
like
idea.
You can play it
of a
on the
game.
Switch.
I feel like I should.
That's
just
where I
wait.
played it.
I know. I told Jake, I was like, oh, maybe I'll play it now. And he was like, nah, I think you should wait. And I was like, what? It sounds so cool. But I imagine that the remake will take it to the next level, especially like with all of the updated graphics. And I'm sure the storytelling will be even better.
Because I did play it when I was like 7.
Mhm.
And I was
but
like,
it's a boring video game.
and I was like, this is so dumb.
so much reading.
I was like, a lot of reading.
Tell me what to
I
do.
just want to.
Yeah, I just want to swing my
It's a
lightsaber
lightsaber,
around
yeah.
and just like cut things down.
Yeah.
I never played it since then. And so
role-based, like semi, like pause issue order combat doesn't really lend itself to Star Wars. So I hope with this remake they kind of throw that out and like supercharge the combat mechanics.
Yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong. Did that like pave the way? Like the books came after I think they're like 4 Old Republic books, and Revan was great. It was a long time ago that I read it, but I think because of the game and how awesome it was back then and what it did, led more way for the literature.
I'm not sure. I know
I
the
don't know.
Tales of the Jedi comic series, which like came out in the 90s, had some Old Republic content in there, but I don't know if Revan and Malak were established before this game or not.
I don't know, but I do know that Christian was right. I looked at our tie-breaking rules, and this game should have actually been number 5 all time.
Whoa.
So I guess we'll go back and say number 6, which is a game I did play actually as a kid for a little bit, which was Star Wars Episode 1 Pod Racer. One of the few games that was actually in all of our top 10s.
Episode 1 Racer, baby. It was just called Racer, I believe, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was
Racer.
just awesome.
It really was. And I think it's one of those few, like, even though the graphics and things don't hold up, it's still a ton of fun if you're into that Mario Kart style of play, and you really do get a sense of the speed, and there's just a lot of the controllers are a little bit touchy, just like a real pod race would be.
Yeah.
It gets your heart rate going. So ton of fun. Amanda, have you played Racer yet?
No.
I feel like you'd like that one.
But remember all those months ago when we talked about the Phantom Menace, and I said that pod racing went on too long.
So you
It
would
was too
totally
long
change
of-
your mind if you played this game. I think you'd
Hard
be like,
disagree.
She'd get bored like halfway through the
I
race.
was
Like,
like,
I'm
okay,
done.
come on.
That's so funny. Do you not like Mario Kart?
I like Mario Kart, but I hate that Mario Kart only has like freaking like 20 different maps.
Star Wars Racer's got like 82.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I have
No.
Oh.
I
I was like, okay, sign me
I
up.
was like, move on. This one only has like 5 or 4.
Like, no, that does not sound fun playing the same 5 circles in a row.
But literally, you have, like, if you're playing as Anakin, you'll be able to hear on loop, it's Skywalker! Oh, ah. Best part of the Phantom Menace. All right, that didn't land. All right, so with that, Jake, you grew up playing Star Wars Racer, right?
Wait, where does Racer fall? Why are we talking about Racer?
It's number 6. 5 was Knights of the Old Republic. I went out of order.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Racer.
I definitely played this one. And this is a big nostalgia bomb for me because it came out right around the time the Phantom Menace hit theaters. And so 1999, I was 6 years old, very newly initiated into the world of Star Wars. And I just remember seeing the Phantom Menace in theaters with my family and having my mind absolutely blown. I hold the Phantom Menace in higher regard than a lot of Star Wars fans do personally. And I disagree, Amanda, that the pod racing scene went on too long because that was awesome. So when they took that experience and plopped it into a video game format, I was like, sign me up. I've heard all I need to hear. I just remember how, Brody, to your point, insanely fast everything felt. It was just like a high octane racer, and like being able to deck out your pod racer with different parts and like trick it out and spend credits on things. There's a lot of fun in that game. And I know that's another one that's been ported over to PlayStation and maybe Switch. So Amanda, maybe you should give it a shot and see if it changes your stance on pod racing as a whole.
Maybe
I will try it out for the podcast.
I'll tell you what, I have no interest right now in going to whatever Star Wars world they got going on in Disney. That whole like 3-day experience where you stay in a hotel and whatever you do, Jedi training. I don't care about practicing with a lightsaber. I don't care about any of that. But if they had some hyper realistic experience where you're basically sitting in a pod race
simulator.
and you're simulating the whole thing and you're just, you're in your little pod.
That'd be cool.
Oh my
That'd
god.
be really
Simulate the G's on your body.
Oh. I would,
like the dust
Yeah,
flowing.
Yeah,
in.
people
That-
passing out in the simulator. You'd be the only human that could do it.
I'll tell you what, I would pay eventually after financing it forever. I would pay for that trip, for that experience.
Try to make
You
it
heard
as,
it here, Disney.
Yeah.
Get it started.
make it as authentic as possible, where you have to have the midichlorian count of Anakin Skywalker to get through, and if
Yeah.
and, like you survive if you get out of there
Difficulty
and you
mode.
haven't passed out.
Yeah.
Like the G's,
You are the chosen
the
one.
dirt, all of it.
Now
Everyone.
this is pod racing.
Yes.
That would be kind of cool. Like there's like really never
Like-
anyone that beats it.
They market it as will you accept the challenge?
But what happens
Yeah.
if you like blow up? Like if you like crash into something?
There are
How
some
realistic?
minor injuries that you have to sustain.
You have to sign a waiver.
Yeah, you
before
sign a
go.
waiver. Of
The other thing that
course.
would be cool there is what if they did like because they have that like silly Jedi training where you basically get a lightsaber at the end of it just because you exist. But what if you had to actually do a bunch to get a lightsaber? One, you went through, you passed all the trials, and then you do end up doing training one-on-one with someone for like a day or two, and it leads where you actually legit have to fight like Darth Vader at the end of your stay, and you're like, and they've got enough money to find like a great person at fencing or something, and it wouldn't have to be too difficult, but a challenge enough that you're not just gonna get a W because you spent $8,000.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Something like that.
They'd have to have a pool of them because that one person might not be able to fight the hundreds of thousands that want to challenge them.
The real Darth Vader could do it, man. Could stop a ship midair. And he's the only one that could do the pod race experience too. It's all comes back to Anakin through my perfect
So now we're in the top 3.
Oh no, we got number 4. We're just all out of order today.
Oh wow.
Number 4 is episode 3. Revenge of the Sith. Great video game.
What did you play it on?
PlayStation
Xbox
2.
Oh,
I played it on Game Boy.
what?
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about a different episode 3 then.
No, it was on Game Boy.
It was on
Game Boy
Game Boy.
Advance.
That's when
Sorry, I didn't clarify the advanced.
That's back when they used to do the same game but on a different
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Completely different game still. But yeah, that's fun. I think I had that too.
So you just play the story of it?
Yes, and the
Basically.
mechanics were so fun.
It looked
So
cool.
fluid.
Like it really looked great choreography. Jake, I don't know. Do you remember much of this one?
Oh, big time. Yeah,
Yeah.
this was another like fond couch co-op memory of me and my younger brother playing it together.
Yep.
And I was Obi-Wan, he was Anakin, and you could play certain missions in the story together. And I just remember absolutely decimating droids and whatever the game threw at us with my brother. And the combat mechanics being so much fun. And then the infamous Star Wars What If alternate ending to the Battle on Mustafar. I mean, you gotta give this game props for that.
Oh, I
alone, 'cause
forgot
that was
about that.
crazy.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Love that game. They had some great like arcades battles you could do with your friends afterwards too, where you fought all these different other like your people, creatures, characters like Count Dooku. I think Yoda might have been in there, but there was Mace Windu, there was Grievous, and kind of set 101. It was lots of fun.
hmm
Now, before we get into our last 3, I think it's time for some honorable mentions here. One of which being, and I'm surprised it didn't quite make it, Star Wars: The Force Unleashed.
We're sorry it didn't make it. I'm sorry I didn't play it. I probably should have.
Did you play it?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, loved the game. You take the what's the guy's name? Star
Sam-
Killer.
Oh,
Star Killer. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Star
right.
Killer.
You're
Sam
right.
Witwer.
Sam Witwer.
Sam Witwer.
Yep. Yeah, and like, doesn't Darth Vader, like, they're supposed to kill all the Padawans or whatever, and they're on Kashyyyk, I think, right?
Yep. That's
At
where
the
the
end-
game opens.
Yeah, and Darth Vader ends up taking out his, like, the commander and the other stormtroopers in the end to end up making this guy his apprentice, and you follow through his crazy life with. I don't think we'd ever had any video game that really just hinged so much on force abilities before either. I think most things were pretty much just focused on lightsaber combat to this point.
Right. And Star Killer as a character is so incredibly powerful. He's almost lore breaking.
Yeah.
Because there's been discussions like recently, like, will we ever see Star Killer like make a live action appearance in a series or TV movie, whatever? And people are like, yeah, if they did that, he's basically has like godlike abilities with the Force. They'd have to really be careful with that.
Doesn't he bring down a whole starship?
I was gonna say that's what I've heard.
He pulls a Star Destroyer out of the sky with the Force and smashes it into the ground, which that's just one of those moments where, I mean, this one was on my list for sure. I had it at 8th, but just like realizing what he's about to do as he's ramping up, and you're just like, is that legal? Can he do that? And then you're like, oh, wow. Yeah. And then with the opening of the game, I mean, this came out well before we got Prime Vader moments in Rogue One and in Jedi Fallen Order. But opening the game up and you're playing as Vader, storming Kashyyyk and just cutting Wookiees down like it's nothing. You feel like a Sith Lord. So, Christian, this is another one that you should maybe check out. It's like 5-6 hour campaign. It's really short, but a good time.
I really should. Maybe when the boy is older, we'll be a father-son duo.
Have y'all ever played this one video game called Star Wars Obi-Wan on Xbox?
I have it. I'd have to dust it off. It's a long time
ago. A very old game. It's not even that good. The mechanics are kind of wonky. And but it was funny because it's one of the first like Xbox exclusive Star Wars games. And so you look at the cover and Obi-Wan is like all just green. His lightsaber is green. The back is green.
It's very green lens.
They're like, this is the Xbox Obi-Wan game.
Okay.
Everything is green. Jake, you had a PlayStation.
It's like Hulk Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Missed that one. I don't think it's ever made it over to PlayStation, so I didn't play it.
One other I want to shout out real quick because of how much I can't stand it. There was a game called Shadows of the Empire. I don't know if you guys remember. There's an N64 video game. Yeah. And basically, you've got this one guy, and this was like one of the first times ever you weren't Han, Luke, or Leia. I remember being him, and on the N64, he would like jump from ledge to ledge, but it was one of those things where someone would kind of jump, and even if their feet would hit the ground, they kind of keep moving and stuff. And there was a lot of points where you were on like narrow walkways with like ledges that you just continue to fall to your death. And you couldn't ever get stable, and you fight guys like Boba Fett, and I just hated it. I want to shout that one out because a lot of people like it. Not me.
Sounds like a dishonorable mention.
Dishonorable mention. You've been brought up, Shadow of the Empire. There's other fun ones though. Like what else do we have here? We've got Squadrons. Never played that, but Jake, you've got that one up pretty high. You've got that at number 6.
I've heard that's one of the classics you got to play.
Yeah, big time. And I had missed a lot of the previous mainline, like Star Wars space combat centric titles like Rogue Squadron and Jedi
Is Squadron's
Starfighter.
The one with Hera?
Yes. So this is the one that came out in 2020. And the whole point of the campaign is you create 2 pilots, one who serves in the Rebellion's Air Force, whatever you'd call it. Fleet, there we go. And then another pilot that serves on the Empire side. And then you have like divergent plots where you play a couple missions as one, see the Empire's perspective of this Galactic Civil War. And then you flip it over to the Rebellion to see their point of view. And your characters are kind of bland, but the real stars of the show are your like crew or your unit that you fly with. Like they all have their own personalities and backstories and everything. And the combat there's a little bit of a learning curve up front, like getting all the bells and whistles, like diverting power from your thrusters to your shields and pulling off like drifts in space. But once you get it down, you feel like a total ace pilot in the dogfight. So, and yes, special shout out for the Hera Syndulla cameo in the campaign.
Right on.
Nice. With all that, let's get to our top 3. At number 3, we have the 2017 release of Star Wars Battlefront 2. That's a controversial take, but I love that game. I love it.
Yeah, you guys could talk more on that one because I only like played it once, but the one time I played it, I loved it. I enjoyed it. I didn't have it, so that's why I didn't have it higher on my list. But I think that's the quintessential game, is what I've heard.
Now, I obviously am not an extreme gamer, but this was sort of my first interaction with like the microtransaction world.
Yes.
And I know that
Mhm.
that was like an extremely controversial thing at the time, and
Yep.
it was released and it was clunky, and it sort of started, I don't know, in my opinion, I started to notice that this was the start of like a lot of gaming companies pushing out releases really quickly to like get it out there and get the sales, and then not being the most polished thing, and then having to
Oh.
backtrack and like refix it and then deal with all the drama, and it's just so
Yes,
annoying. And now I feel like
widely
it just keeps happening.
They did that to this game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're saying it's like the quintessential. I'm like, not at its release.
No, but like I've
Yeah.
heard it's just
Yeah.
heralded as like Star Wars Battlefront 2 is like
it's
cream of the crop, like game, like
The
Star
new-
Wars gaming.
the new
it's
one?
like really
No.
good RPG, like what you would want out of an RPG like Star Wars game.
Yeah, because I the old one, I think yes. I don't know many people that herald the 2017 release.
Oh yeah, I forgot you said 2017. I'm thinking the old one.
And I'm like, oh, I was
Sorry.
like, I don't know. I will say, for me, I love the game because I did continue to play it. I stuck with it, and they did have new maps. They opened up a bunch of different characters like Anakin and Obi-Wan and Grievous, and yeah, it's a ton of fun. I still play it every now and again. I'll do like a little arcade mode when I'm just feeling like, I don't know, just
Blast
doing
some
some-
droids or whatever.
well, what I'll do, I'll play on Jabba the Hutt's palace, and all these rebels will just like hundreds of them will just be charging Darth Vader, and I've got my Vader like maxed out, and so he's got this ability to like block a bunch of people, and then he can like force choke, I think up to like 20 people at one time.
Sheesh.
And so like all these people, the swarm of people are coming out of his palace and was picking up 20 people, blocking a bunch, throwing a lightsaber, cutting down another 20, force blocking. It comes back and kills more people. While I'm blocking again, all these people are getting wrecked.
Wow.
Eventually, Yoda and Luke will come out to try to take you on. And so you've got to like map out like how you're going to block all the blaster fire against those two. And just, it's wild, man. But it's probably my favorite mode on that game, more than multiplayer, which is a lot of fun. But Star Wars Battlefront 2 has got the new one has a very soft spot in my heart, but it does for you too, Jake. It looks like.
Yeah, it does. I had it at 4th on my list, and I was one of many who bought into the hype pre-release and pre-ordered the game. This is one of probably 3 video game titles that are the reason I no longer pre-order video games, because what we got at launch was very different. And yeah, the whole loot box controversy that came from this game. I mean, this is like the case study. This like ignited a whole dialogue around live service video games and injecting like chance-based microtransactions into a gaming experience. And it went all the way to Congress. Like this was a huge deal. And I was there from day one, like watching it all unfold.
Being like, what the hell?
The most downvoted comment in Reddit history is because of this title. And it was from the development team explaining their decision at launch to lock like certain heroes behind gameplay requirements, where at launch, if you wanted to play as Darth Vader, you would have had to have grinded like 40 to 50 hours in game before you even had a chance to play him. And of course, people were furious about that. And the comment from the development team was like, well, we made this decision because we wanted players to feel a sense of pride and accomplishment when they unlock these iconic heroes. And Reddit army mobilized, and I think it's now sitting at like 660,000 downvotes on that one comment. And I was one of them.
That's how we can solve world peace.
Yeah.
In spite of all that, like, there's no denying that it's probably one of, if not the most gorgeous Star Wars games ever made graphically. It's total immersion, like first person, playing as a clone, you know, like storming Commando or Geonosis or whatever. It's awesome. And after a couple more years of post-launch support content, more heroes, more maps and everything, it really did become a pretty awesome Star Wars game in the end. So that's why I have it ranked as highly as I do.
Nice. It's a very great game.
The campaign too is worth mentioning.
Yeah,
it's pretty solid.
I enjoyed the campaign. Brief, but I enjoyed it. With that said, we've got our number 2 all-time Star Wars video game, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Again, but this one was the 2005.
Why couldn't they
version.
rename Battlefront 2 2017 to Battlefront 3?
It should have been Battlefront 4 at that point.
Okay, so why didn't they do that? Why did
I
they
don't
have to
know.
remake, like, make this confusing for us?
Yeah.
2 battle, 2 front.
Exactly.
Front.
I know. No, I don't know why.
Okay, so why is this one better than the 2017
Oh.
one?
You have so many more maps.
Back in the day.
You had automatically more heroes. I mean, I think
Jake, you rated this your number 1.
All time.
Actually, you and Brody both ranked it your number 1. Wow.
This is the pinnacle right here. So this was 2005. There was a Star Wars Battlefront. The original came out in 2004. Battlefront 2 took everything, mechanics, gameplay, characters, heroes from the original title and made it better. And in the first game, I think you only had like a couple of heroes like Darth Vader, Luke, like the big hitters. Battlefront 2, they blew it out and included a lot of people, deep cuts like Ayla Sakura, Adi Kyle Mundi, Kit Fisto, your boy, Amanda.
My boy.
That's right.
They brought them all out. And you couldn't even play as them in the original Battlefront.
Right.
Yeah.
It was a very select few. You had a ton of game modes. Hunt, Galactic, Conquest was a blast. Like doing a campaign with your buddy where you're warring over different planets, conquering them, defending, attacking. You have space battles. You have ground battles. The campaign with the clones in the 501st during the rise of the Galactic Empire, voiced by your boy Tamora Morrison, Brody.
So good.
Yeah, the game was just way ahead of its time. Complete package.
It really was. And yeah, and that game explained the fall of what we knew as like the clone troopers. And you had an awesome level where they talked about the Kaminoans. They started to understand like, oh, hey, we're about to be out of a contract with the Empire. So they started kind of hinting at this in the Bad Batch, which was really cool, that they're like, oh, hey, well, we're going to get our clones. We're going to create a whole army against these stormtroopers. And we're going to be like contracted out and whatever to go against them. And so you, as a clone, have to go in and kill all these other clones and basically destroy Kamino, which I think was way more impactful of like, if you have to finish off Kamino, I think that was so much more impactful than what we got out of Bad Batch. I mean, hand-to-hand combat between brothers was like, that was a level. And like the dialogue afterwards where Tamara Morrison's like, you know, none of us spoke about the events that day. Not that day, no ever again. Something like that. And you're just like, man, it just hits home. It was so good. I remember playing the first Battlefront, and like you couldn't play as the heroes. And I remember we'd be shooting at. I don't even know if they could die back then. So I really liked playing on Bespin because you could throw a grenade, and Count Dooku or someone would be blocking it. They'd fly off and get detonated and fly off the edge. It was the only way to kill them. They were very annoying heroes back then. So I loved Bespin for that. But this game, got to play as the heroes. I hated how the health bar would automatically go down for them if you weren't in combat. So it forced you to stay in gameplay.
Interesting.
Dying if you're not fighting.
Yep. If you're not fighting, you're dying. Yep, there was no. And I remember playing as like Anakin, just booking it across maps when there was like less and less people to fight. I'm like, come on, somebody fight me. And so very annoyed with that, but loved the game overall. They had Jango Fett and Boba Fett for, fans like myself. It was everything. So great game all around. Wish they would have been able to do something like that
with the real remake of Battlefront.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh, and they also had like it was one of the first games that it truly did well in space battles where you had like these saboteur missions.
The capital ships, like having to like take out and destroy the different parts, like the shield generator, and getting inside the engine room, like landing in the docking area of the ship. It was wicked cool.
Yeah, you'd fly around from yours, try to get into theirs, and saboteur. Oh, ton of fun. Loved it. They attempted to do something like that with a supremacy mode in the new Battlefront 2, but it doesn't quite hit the same feels.
So that brings us
to number one.
I feel like our listeners have to deduce what number one is, since it hasn't been brought up.
It's not Knights of the Old Republic.
It's not.
Sorry.
It's not Lego Star Wars 2, and it's not the N64 Battle for Naboo.
Oh, sorry about that.
Can you imagine if it was, though? No. What is it, Amanda?
It is
the game you know so well.
Jedi Fallen Order.
Jedi Fallen Order.
What a masterpiece.
Wow.
Yeah.
Except we do have to talk about how frustrating it is to play. Like, wow.
Yeah, I can't.
That game really pissed me off a lot of times. And then I would need to take a break from it because I'm so stressed out. How the hell do I get back to the Mantis? There's no quick way path back to it.
A lot of backtracking. Yeah.
And you have to find the right route. And the map feature, I don't like that. You can't zoom in even further. I want to be able to zoom in as far as I want to.
Yep.
Yeah, map feature took me a while.
I think
I had so frustrating.
I think I had nightmares of just StimPD.
Yes.
StimPD. Just
I did have to play the game on easier than normal mode so I could enjoy it.
I played it on the second hardest. Not the hardest, because I heard from what I was reading it's inhumane how hard that is. But this was based on another really tough combat video game that I'm blinking. Not
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls. There you
go. The big Dark Souls guy.
Yeah, I'm a huge From Software fan. Like Elden Ring, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, the whole shebang. So
was this pretty easy of a transition for you then?
I think I probably picked it up a little easier than most did. But when I heard news that we were going to get a narrative-driven single-player Star Wars game that was mechanically akin to those From Software titles, I was like, I'm so incredibly in your target demographic for this game. It's not even funny.
Well, it was amazing. I remember playing through it, and most Star Wars for me, as I've said, as an adult, it's harder and harder to really, I feel impress me at this point because there's so much that's already been done and redone. Playing that game with a story mode we've all kind of seen, when you play it through Cal Kestis's perspective, and you see, what happened with the Order 66 and all these things, it's really touching, and it's crazy how you really do start the game, you yourself as a noob, and by the end, not only do you have more skills as a character, but you are really far more skilled with the mechanics of the game.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I don't think I've ever in my life had to YouTube video watch strategies to beat other characters. Like the ninth sister at first, like
Mm-hmm.
we were up in Kashyyyk, and I'm like, I can't. I just couldn't. All the little different like that was what's glorious about it. Any sort of hack you might have found that worked before will not work every single time. Like different characters have different fighting styles, and you got to be able to adapt and really get good at that hand-to-hand combat, blocking at the right time.
And the execution cinematography when he's just like
when he
the
throws one
finish
down.
moves.
Yeah.
And like just finishes with the stab. Like that's one of the most BA things you could see with a Star Wars video game.
Yep.
Great story.
The character is so good.
Characters awesome. Great storytelling. And even with the villain, Trilla, is that his name?
Yeah.
And like great, it was great story, great campaign. Introducing BD1 or the concept of that droid. Love that droid.
Which you can buy his Lego figure now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Great lightsaber customization.
Yes.
And the ponchos.
The ponchos.
Yeah.
Ponchos. I love when Star Wars is
so
ponchos.
Awesome.
Yes.
I love the ponchos. I went all over. My wife thinks like ponchos are dumb, and I'm such like a big good, bad, and the ugly fan. And I was like, I don't care what map I got to go back to get that poncho.
It was for the ponchos. I had to 100% that game, and it was so fun to 100% that game.
Yeah, I was always continuously surprised by the game as I kept going on. I figured, okay, I know all that I can do now, and there would still be new things that would be unveiled, like new abilities, and like now you have a double-ended lightsaber and like all this stuff. It was so cool.
It can be purple, orange,
well,
yellow.
It was like crazy too, because I was always under the impression like Darth Sidious or Darth Vader were like the most powerful beings in the Star Wars universe, and Darth Vader is so powerful like you can't even fight him, which I loved.
That's great.
Add in the game.
Yeah,
but I didn't realize that the most powerful character in all of Star Wars was Ogdo Bogdo. Yeah, that big old bullfrog looking thing that if you beat him, what do you get? A pink poncho.
I don't think I did that.
Yep.
I got the pink poncho, but
you
I
gotta
was like,
beat
what are you
Ogdo
talking about?
Bogdo to get it. It was terrible.
That's funny.
And it was so funny because I remember seeing him at the beginning of the game, and it's this big frog. I don't remember what planet that was.
Zepho,
The
I think.
swampy one.
He's in like a optional side boss, like in a cave, right?
Yeah. So like a cave. Yeah, and you're like,
Oh.
I remember the first time I saw him, I was just like, just got my lightsaber, and I'm like starting to
Right
beat some
away.
of the frogs,
runs
and I'm
right
like,
at
This
you.
is cool, and then I'm immediately dead every time. He
Yeah.
just breathes on you and you die. And so I remember I beat the campaign, I beat the game, I come back at the end, and I just see him sitting there, and I'm like, my powers have doubled since last week. And I just went ham. And then I felt like I could end the game. I was like, sweet, what's in this chest?
That's like
But it's-
animal
oh,
It's a
cruelty.
pink
It was this
poncho.
bright pink poncho that I was like, it doesn't match my guy's MO. I got this like very Western vibe going.
This is it. This is what I did.
This is what I did to beat Bogdo. Definitely my favorite. I don't want to say my favorite. Star Wars Episode 2 is probably my favorite, but I'm very fine with us having it as number one, the number one Star Wars video game all time. So
And we got a sequel coming up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and a
incredibly
book.
excited for that.
Yeah,
There's a book coming out.
that bridges the time between when the sequel will come out.
That's cool.
Which is
Jedi
cool.
Fallen Order 2, The Rise of Bogdo.
To Jedi to Fallen Order.
All right. Well, with that said, it is time for the next segment of our show. Hot takes. Lord Vader, take us away.
Don't be too proud of this podcast you've constructed. The ability to rank content is insignificant next to the power of an exceptional hot take.
It is hot takes time, and it looks like our guest, Jake, has a hot take that Christian and I have been pre-warned. We don't know what it is, but we've been warned that it is a spicy one. It is the ghost pepper of hot takes.
It's pretty good. I had to consult with Amanda beforehand to make sure that I could move past the video game discussion. And I was like, this hot take can be related to anything Star Wars, right? She said yes. So Before I say it, I just want to take a moment to let you know, Brody, I value our friendship very much. I want you to know that. I know this hot take is going to hurt you specifically, and just know that it's not out of a place of malice. But
I appreciate that.
my hot take is this. Even after a surprise cameo in The Mandalorian and his own spin-off series, Boba Fett is and remains the most overrated character in all of Star Wars.
Ooh.
That one's hot.
Most
Most
overrated.
even after the newest additions to his story.
Even after that dialogue, I'm not a little boy, you are an old man, and I
Even
have
after that.
armor.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I was in the writing room that day. Like, I wish any real lover of Boba Fett was in that room that day.
We need the exposition. We need him to say he's not a little boy anymore.
I'm not a little boy any longer. You are an old man.
See, now they need to take those clips and make it into the Lego like voice murmurings.
Oh man. I don't know. I mean, most overrated. I don't want to agree out of the fact that I really want you to be wrong.
But can you name anyone more overrated
Well,
besides Luke?
my thought is this. Boba Fett was the most overrated character until the tragedy episode of The Mandalorian, where he actually was a badass with a dad bod. And then the Book of Boba Fett came back out, and it just helped him maintain his overratedness. He did write a Rancor, which was cool, but that episode kind of felt silly.
Oh, I loved the Rancor.
I'm just really trying to think. Also, it was kind of weird. I was watching the other day. Remember when he was fighting on the Rancor and they were fighting like giant droideka things?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And everyone's like, we can't shoot at them because they got shields.
Yeah.
And then the Rancor breaks the shield and
Then
they're
they
like,
stop
we
shooting
can't shoot at them because we're watching.
because we're watching now.
It was very weird.
Oh, yeah.
Very weird
We tend not
episode.
to talk about that
Ah,
anymore.
I'm very upset with this series. I don't know. You guys should break this down. I'm trying to think of other overrated characters in Star Wars.
You said
think it is a-
Pelimoto was.
Pelimoto?
Pelimoto.
No, I think she's too minor of a character to be overrated.
Exactly.
That's the
That's why I
point.
disagreed with the
recent.
hot take.
And too recent, exactly. Boba Fett has always been overhyped, even during the original trilogy, which I know Hyperspace Heroes is now gonna come for me. But that's like the whole appeal of his like action figure was like, oh, he just looks cool. Like he doesn't actually do anything. So why are you fanboying over this?
That's
It
my
doesn't-
thing. I
Does
mean,
not make sense. Does not
in the world
compute.
of Star Wars, when you have incredibly compelling characters and storylines and backstories, a character who rose to prominence because he looked cool just doesn't do it for me. He's like what Captain Phasma is to the sequel trilogy.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
But I think I have to agree.
Yeah.
And it comes down to the fact that there is so much hypeflation around Boba Fett. And so many people like myself love him so much. But the problem is, in canon now, there's not a whole lot to him that meets that hype.
Yeah.
That's where it stands right now. Now, if they do a second season of Book of Boba Fett, they learn from the first. I would love to see that change, as he's up there as one of my favorite Star Wars characters. Because people like myself know what he could be. We all know. And the tragedy showed us all that, and then they stopped. So I'm going to agree, because there are other pointless characters, far more pointless characters I would add, but no one regards them like Phasma the same way Boba Fett is. So I'm going to agree with you.
I agree.
Wow. All right,
You got the
unanimous
Roger,
Roger. Love
Yeah.
I know. And
I
that-
can't remember
And you
last time
came
that happened.
personally for Brody's throat.
Dude, Boba Fett's helmet sits
You
right
made-
behind me.
Yeah.
Brody, I hope this doesn't come between our friendship.
I mean, I'm more pragmatic than that. I don't think you're wrong. If you were to say Brody's an idiot for liking Boba Fett as your hot take, It's
I would have
personal.
supported it.
That is very personal. I think I have to take some sort of offense to that. But no, at this point, makes sense. Total sense. All right. Well, with that said, it's time for the last segment of our show. Force Ghost Charlie, take it away.
This is the way to trivia time!
It is trivia time, and I have the question of the week. Now, a lot of people, including myself, were very, very, very excited to get a new Star Wars Battlefront game. Not Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront. After they had their originals in the early 2000s, they did release an updated version on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So my question is, what year did that video game come out? Was it A, 2014, B, 2015, C, 2016, or D, 2017? Amanda?
So you said PlayStation 4.
Or Xbox One.
What game did you say? You said
The
it was
original? Well, not the original. The
The
update
remake of
Battlefront.
Battlefront.
Yes.
And the 4 options again.
2014, 2015, 2016, and 2017.
I'm going to go with 2017.
2017?
You said the remake of Battlefront, not the remake of Battlefront 2.
Correct.
I don't know. Let's say 2014.
2014. And Jake.
I believe it is 2015.
And Jake is correct. It is
Wow.
2015.
All right.
Yes. With a much anticipated hype of Star Wars and The Force Awakens, they decided to bring in, I believe, the same year, Star Wars Battlefront, which had a special map. It only featured the original trilogy, but it did also include the fight over Jakku, which still fit in that.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, because that was their big spiel. Check out
Mhm.
the new
Yep, fight on
location.
Jakku.
We also got Scarif in that one too.
Wait, what year
Yes.
did Force Awakens come out? 2017? No,
2015. I think.
2015.
Mhm.
So okay, it was like tied into that
Mhm.
release. Okay.
Yep, which is why it was a very hollow game, or I shouldn't say hollow, very small, not a lot of scale.
Yeah.
But they had to get something out quick. EA had struck that deal.
Mhm.
There was a release. There was a lot of pressure, and fans knew that. And so when Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out, they said, okay, now we know you know how to release a good game. You got a lot of hype behind this. You're going to release something amazing. We've already touched on it. But
Yeah.
I still enjoy that Star Wars Battlefront 1 game. You can't just fling 20 rebels in the air and cut them down like they're butter, but it's still a good time. So,
Nice.
with all that to be said, we have ranked the top 10 Star Wars video games. It's been a lot of fun. Jake, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a real blast for people that want, they listen to our music. They think, wow, that's an awesome opening theme. This guy's a musician. I should go check out the Real Zebos.
Yes.
Where can people follow you? Where can they follow your band? Where should people go?
Absolutely. We're all on social media: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. You can find our music on all the streaming platforms, big and small. So just Google the Real Zebos. We've got a website too. We've got merch. We've got shows coming up. So check us out. We're putting out an album in a couple weeks. Our sophomore album is dropping on the 23rd. So good stuff is coming.
Yeah, what Rockstar Skinny has how many millions of listens now on streams on Spotify?
It's a good one.
3.5 million.
Wow.
Oh.
It's a good
Check
one.
that out, y'all. And they have probably the best Halloween song I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
I haven't heard many, but I do think that one's the best.
I'm also a fan of Super Spooky.
Yes. It's another-
Halloween's absolutely our holiday
And
choice
it is
at
spooky
TRZ.
season, so yeah.
Yeah.
Better see those super spooky streaming numbers bounce up after this episode.
after the DOTR release. I mean, heck, we're a month away from Halloween. So there you go. The right kind of time to plug Super Spooky. Well, it's been a lot of fun, y'all. Next week, we're going to talk about the top 10 things we would like to see out of the TV show Andor, which I've gone in learning nothing about it. I've watched no trailer breakdowns or anything.
I think we might have to do another bingo card. I liked
bingo
that
cards.
process.
That's what I was.
It was a lot of
last
fun.
time.
I think we should do that.
Yeah.
Great call. Hopefully I can do a little bit better this time.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Me too.
Just put Baby Yoda all around. And Mando, Boba Fett. Would be cool to see Boba Fett, wouldn't it? Like
Stop.
a young Boba Fett. I would love that. He's not.
He
Boba
doesn't learn, does he?
Fett. All right, y'all. Well, thanks so much for checking out this week's episode of Duel of the Ranks, and we look forward to seeing you next week as we break down our top 10 predictions and things we hope will happen with Andor. See you then.